Dear students, welcome back to the Nebraska Secondary School online YouTube class. Today we are going to the next revolution, that was the Russian Revolution. We know that the name Russia, it is a country, it is the biggest or the largest country in the world. We know that. And Russia occupies the 1/10 of the total land in the earth. So we can view, and Russia is the biggest country and it occupies 1/10 land in the total earth. Okay, now we are going to discuss about what is the background of the Russian Revolution. Okay, the Russian Revolution, it was the time the Russia has under the rule of autocratic rule. We previously discussed what is autocratic rule. Russia also have under the autocratic rulers. The rulers are the Tsar emperors. The rulers are the Tsar emperors. So under the rulers, the farmers and the factory workers, in Russia led to a tragic life. They led a tragic life under the autocracy of the Tsar emperors. Okay, and the agricultural production became decreased at the time of these emperors. The agricultural production decreased, the low agricultural production. But the farmers, the poor farmers give a huge amount of tax to the rulers. But the time agricultural production became decreased, but the farmers also give a huge amount to rulers. And in the Russia is a much natural resources. Russia have much natural resources. In the protection, in the industrial sector of the Russia, it is going to decrease, because the industry, majority of the industry is in the hand of the foreigners in Russia. Majority of the industry, it is in the hand of the foreigners. So the industrial sector began to decline. So these are the main point of the background of the causes of the Russian Revolution. What are the Russian Revolution? Russia is under the autocratic rulers, Tsar emperors, and the farmers and the factory workers in Russia led a tragic life under the rule of autocracy, that means of the Tsar emperors. And the low agricultural production, and the landless farmers have a huge amount to rulers. And though Russia was rich in natural resources, but industrial production is low. It is because over exploitation of foreigners, because the industry is in the hand of foreigners in Russia. Okay, these are the major reasons for the Russian Revolution, or the background of the Russian Revolution. Okay, every revolution have and some of the thinkers. This Russian Revolution also have some thinkers. These are the thinkers: Maxim Gorky, Leo Tolstoy, Anton Chekhov, Ivan Terminov. These are the major writers in the Russia, and they motivated the people of the Russian against the autocratic rulers, the Tsar emperors. So the next two important thinkers, that was Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, who was born in Germany and lived in England. But they formulated the ideology of Marxism. They formulated the ideology of Marxism, and they also motivated the workers for establishing the supremacy of the workers. Establishing the supremacy of the workers instead of the capitalists. These are the main ideology of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They also the thinkers. They motivated the workers for establishing a supremacy of workers instead of the capitalist ideology. So the Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they are the formulated the Marxist ideology. They are formulated the Marxist ideology. Okay, we discussed the Marxist ideology. It was formulated by the Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. In this ideology, the basis of this ideology in Russia, some leaders are formulated a party. The name of the party it was the Social Democratic Workers Party. Name of the party it was Social Democratic Workers Party. It is formulated in the year 1898. It was in the year 1898. So, in 1898, based on the Marxist ideology, some leaders formulated the Social Democratic Workers Party. It is for the aim of the party. It is for the remedies for the plight of workers, or the solution for the tragic life that was we previously discussed with the workers of the or the farmers of the Russia. They was led a tragic life. So it is for the solution for the plight of workers. This party was to solution for the plight of workers. Later, the party, the Social Democratic Workers Party was divided into two. It was split into two. It was Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. The party, Social Democratic Workers Party, was divided into two. It was Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. The Mensheviks is a minority party, and the leader of Mensheviks it was Alexander Kerensky. The Bolsheviks it was a majority party, and the majority party, the leader of the Bolsheviks it was the Lenin and Trotsky. These are the workers party and the split of workers party. Okay, now look at the point. Based on the Marxist ideology, the Social Democratic Workers Party formed in 1898. Remember the year 1898 to find remedies for plight of workers. And later it was divided into, this party is divided into Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. Mensheviks is a minority party. Mensheviks is a minority party. The minority party, the leader of the minority party, Mensheviks, it was Alexander Kerensky, and Bolsheviks, it was a majority party. In the majority party, the leaders, it was Lenin and Trotsky. Okay, in 1905, the war between the Japan and the Russia, the Japan defeated the Russia. We know that Japan is the smallest country in the Asian continent, and Russia is the largest nation in the world. In 1905, Japan defeated the Russia. After that, in 9th January 1905, the workers of the Russia has decided to march to the Petrograd. The workers of the Russia organized a huge march to the Petrograd. Petrograd is a capital of the Russia. The power of the capital administration, it was in the Petrograd. So the workers has decided to organize a huge march to the Petrograd on 9th January 1905. The workers demanded the political rights and economic reforms. They want to political rights and economic reforms. They want to change some economic reforms. In this march, the soldiers were fired against the march. Russian soldiers fired against the march, and hundreds of people were dead in this march. These are the main event, and this called by Bloody Sunday. It was called Bloody Sunday. This event was Bloody Sunday. Okay, one of the question, what is Bloody Sunday? Bloody Sunday is in 1905, Japan defeated the Russia. After that, in 9th January 1905, the workers organized a huge march to the Petrograd. They demanding the economic reforms and political power, political rights too. They want. They demanded. But the soldiers fired against the march, and hundreds of demonstrators means the peoples, the workers, hundreds of demonstrators were massacred. These are the event. It is called Bloody Sunday. It is called Bloody Sunday. This event is called Bloody Sunday. Okay. After the Bloody Sunday, the workers' organization named the Soviets as formed all over the Russia. After the Bloody Sunday, the workers' organization, its name was the Soviets, were formed all over the Russia. And the organization began to conduct some agitation against the rulers. Some of the marches, some strikes in all over the Russia. And the strikes began to a massive strength. It began to a massive strength. The support of the people, the ordinary people give a full support to the Soviet strikes. So the ruler was compelled to form a legislative assembly. Its name Duma. So what is Duma? Duma is a legislative assembly formed by the emperor. The reason behind that, after the Bloody Sunday, the workers' organization conducted the Soviet conducted some of the strikes. The strike began to a massive strength. So the emperor was compelled to form a legislative assembly. This legislative assembly is called Duma. It was called Duma. After the Bloody Sunday, the emperor was decided to make a legislative assembly, that name of Duma. In the next event, it was the February Revolution. It is also in this Russian Revolution, inside the Russian Revolution. Okay, now look up what is February Revolution. We know that the First World War is started in the year 1914. The First World War started in the year 1914. So in this First World War, Russia began to participate in it. But the Duma, the Legislative Assembly, was ignoring by participating the Russia in the First World War. But they ignoring the protest from the Duma, Nicholas II and also the Tsar Empire that decided to participate in the First World War. The Nicholas II, who was the ruler, and they want to participate the First World War in 1914. But the Duma Legislative Assembly has protested against it by the participating in the World War. Nicholas II ignored that protest from the Duma. So, after effect of the participation, it was a lot of soldiers were killed in the war, in the First World War, and began to food shortage and began to crisis in the Russia. It leads to the year 1917. In 1917, the Russia began a very crisis and food shortage. In 1917, 8 March, the thousands of women has under the workers had marched into the Petrograd. Thousands of women marched to the Petrograd at 8th March 1917, demanding for bread. Bread means demanding for food, because the Russia began to a food crisis. The workers union, that means the Soviets and the soldiers also supported this agitation against the rulers. The soldiers also participated in this march because they were killed in the lot of soldiers were lost in the First World War. So soldiers also supported this march. On 9th March 1917, thousands of women marched to the Petrograd by demanding the food. Okay, at last the workers and the soldiers also supported this. At last the workers captured the Petrograd, the capital city. The workers captured, and Nicholas II was thrown out from the power. Nicholas II thrown out from the power. A provisional government was formed under the leader Alexander Kerensky. A provisional government was formed. After that, a provisional government in Russia was formed under the leader Alexander Kerensky. Who was the Alexander Kerensky? We know that he was a Menshevik leader. So he was formed a provisional government. This event was known as February Revolution. This event was known as February Revolution. One of the points, it was happened in March 1970. It was happened in the March 1970, but its name was February Revolution. What is the reason? It was the Russia following a Julian calendar. Russia followed a Julian calendar, not international calendar. Russia followed that time the Julian calendar, not international calendar. So it was happened in the Julian calendar. It was in February happened. So it is called February Revolution. So we can going to one more time look up the what is February Revolution happened in the Russian Revolution. It was the when the First World War started in the year 1914. Ignoring the protest from Duma. Duma is the legislative assembly. They protested against participating in the World War. But Nicholas II and the Tsar Emperor was decided to participate in the World War. First World War. After effect, a lot of Russian soldiers were killed in this war, and also began to food crisis, and also a food shortage in 1917. After that, thousands of women marched at Petrograd. Marched to the Petrograd on 8th March 1917, demanding for bread, demanding for food. At last, workers captured the workers captured the Petrograd and Nicholas II was thrown out from the power. And also after it was a provisional government formed under the leadership of Alexander Kerensky. Who was Alexander Kerensky? He was a leader of Mencius, and he was formed a provisional government. This event was known as February Revolution. One of the point, the name it was February Revolution, but it happened in the 8th March 1970. The name began to happen because of it was the Russia at that time following the calendar. It was the Julian calendar. Okay, these are the reason behind named this revolution February Revolution. So these are the main points in the February Revolution. Okay, now look up the another important event happened in the Russian Revolution. It was the October Revolution. We previously discussed about the February Revolution. After the February Revolution, the provisional government has took the power of the Russia. The provisional government is under the leadership of Alexander Kerensky, the Mencius leader. We know discussed it. So after the event happened, that was October Revolution. October Revolution. It is an event happening inside the Russian Revolution. It was an important thing. Okay, the October Revolution, we know that a group of Soviets, that is a group of workers. The Soviet is a group workers organization. It was a workers organization. The Soviets did not approve the provisional government. They are against the provisional government. And that the Lenin, who had been in Switzerland, he came to Russia and he strongly opposed the provisional government. And he strongly argued, the entire power should be transferred to the Soviets. The entire power should be transferred to Soviets. At the time, the Bolsheviks and the Soviets also supported him, and they propagate one of the proletarian government should only eradicate the backwardness, the economic backwardness and inequality existent in the society. They argued, the Bolsheviks and Lenin and the Soviets, they propagated that the proletarian government came in Russia. They want to a proletarian government. It only could eradicate the economic backwardness and inequality. And then they put forward some demands. The demands are: withdraw Russia from First World War. Withdraw Russia from First World War and seize the lands owned by the lords. Seize the lands owned by the lords and distribute it to the farmers. And the third, the make factories, it is in the public property. These are the demands put forward by the Lenin, Bolsheviks and Soviets. And in the 1970 October, they organized an armed rebellion against the provisional government. It happened in October 1917. They organized an armed rebellion against the provisional government. After that, they captured the Alexander Kerensky, who fled away from the country, who fled the power. So they the Bolsheviks captured the power of the Russia, and they began to entire power in their hand. This event is known as October Revolution. This event is known as October Revolution. Okay, now look up what is October Revolution. Okay, all of you look at the points. After forming the provisional government, a group of Soviets did not approve of the provisional government. They did not approve. At that time, Vladimir Lenin, who had been in Switzerland, came to Russia and strongly opposed the provisional government. Lenin strongly opposed the provisional government. He argued the entire power should be transferred to the Soviet. The entire power should be transferred to the Soviet. The Bolsheviks and Soviets supported him, and they propagated that only proletarians government, that is workers government, could eradicate the economic backwardness and inequality in the society. And they put forward some demands. That demands are: withdraw Russia from the First World War and seize the lands owned by the lords and distribute to the farmers and make factories public property. Okay, in the October 1970, the Bolsheviks organized an armed rebellion against the provisional government. After that, Kerensky, Alexander Kerensky, who was the leader of Mensheviks, who was the leader of provisional government, fled from the country. This event is known as October Revolution. Okay. As per the after the October Revolution, the Russia came the under of the Bolsheviks, and a convention of the Soviet was held. A convention was held in the leadership of Bolsheviks leaders, and at a cabinet. After that, a cabinet was formed, and its leader was the head of the cabinet. It was the Lenin, who was the Bolsheviks leader. And next, it was in 1924, a new constitution came to force in Russia, and they formed the USSR. USSR means the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic was formed, consolidating different Soviet republics. These are the USSR. The Russia is also called the USSR. USSR, it is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. Okay, in the constitution, the new constitution is existed in the 1924, came to force. It was in 1924. So these are the event Russian Revolution. Okay.